This is The Great Outdoors with Jason White, exploring the great outdoors in Pennsylvania and beyond. Brought to you by the Mariana Outdoorsmen Association and by Wild Acres Farm, Fishery, and Regulated Hunting Grounds. Now, The Great Outdoors with Jason White.
Hello, friends. I'm Jason White. Welcome to the show today. Special thanks to our sponsors, the Mariana Outdoorsmen Association, Wild Acres Farm, Fishery, Regulated Hunting Grounds, and also, last but not least, the Washington County Tourism and Promotion Agency. I'm going to dive into some upcoming events got going on with the Mariana Outdoorsmen Association. This upcoming weekend, actually, there's going to be an event hosted by 19 North. They're out of Washington, PA. 19 North / President's Pub. They're going to be hosting an event at Wild Acres Farm. It is from 5 p.m. Doors open at 4. 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. Going to be a lot of farm-to-table type foods, live music, 3 different bands, and just a really great outdoor atmosphere. They also have wine and alcohol available if anybody's interested in purchasing that at the event. I'm really looking forward to it. We've spent, my goodness, 3 years renovating Wild Acres Farm. It was definitely in a bad spot 3 years ago, and the work that we've been able to do, definitely, I probably don't take enough time personally to appreciate what we've done and the amount of work that it's taken to get from A to Z. I say that because this morning, I'm already having meetings and looking ahead for what our next projects and things we're going to be doing for the future. But it's sometimes you got to take time to appreciate what you've done. And certainly, I know I've said this before on past shows, but the things we've been able to achieve, it's definitely a team effort. So many gracious people put their hearts and souls into what we do, and that's so many capacities. Whether that be, these development projects, whether that's the habitat projects, whether that's events, or whether that's giving back for veterans, first responders, etc. Just a lot of really good things going on, and I'm super excited because this event this Saturday is really an opportunity for people to see some of the hard work that we've put into our facilities, the different things that we've been working on to bring people to Southwest PA to enjoy the great outdoors, to embrace farming, to see the benefits of understanding agriculture for every person, because at the end of the day, every last person in some way, shape, or form is a farmer, because we all eat food. We all need it to nourish our bodies and to maintain life. So, what we do is very important to me, but also from an educational perspective, and teaching people the importance of day-to-day things, survival skills, etc. It's just extremely crucial. Now, we're going to be getting through this event, and then next week I'm really excited because I've talked about habitat improvement a good bit, and we're going to start stockpiling tractor trailer loads of boulders this upcoming week, and it's been a journey. It's been a journey when you start off and look at the permitting processes to get where we are. This is going to be our 5th phase of habitat improvement on Daniels Run, which is a cold water tributary in Washington County. We actually have campsites at this location. We're developing it for the future. But we basically have, over the past 3 to 4 years, we started out just grubbing trees by hand, doing a lot of just basic manual labor, pulling root wads, tires, TVs from the stream, clearing it out, establishing walkways, places for people to actually access the waterway. And then you start getting into, where we're at now with actually implementing the habitat. A lot of fundraising, a lot of efforts have went into the permitting process. That has been tiresome, cumbersome. If you don't do permitting every day, I'm a huge advocate for the fact that, our permitting process in Pennsylvania definitely needs some reforms because, to walk into something with nothing but good intentions and then you get the whirlwind of what actually we deal with when it comes to the most basic of permits in Pennsylvania, it really is an eye-opener. And it raises the questions as to, I hear people all the time talk about permitting. You're rare to go anywhere that permitting gets discussed in Pennsylvania that it's not looked upon as a problem. So, I actually, I'm going to circle back on the permitting discussion, but, permitting is something that, wow, lots of time, lots of effort, and goodness gracious, lots of red tape. But really excited about going to be starting this next phase here, like I said, on Daniel's Run, the end of the month. Got, equipment coming in. Special thanks to United Rentals. They've been gracious to work with us really well over the years, and want to tip of the cap to them. Great company here in Pennsylvania, and they really support the outdoors, recreation, and and economic development. So thank you to them. Next weekend, the 19th and the 20th, it's going to be the long distance rifle range class. So anybody that's interested about learning anything with high powered rifle shooting, 200 to let's say 500 and plus yardage, it's a great class. I can't stress this enough. Too many people, in my opinion, aren't comfortable to shoot those distances because they don't have the opportunity to practice. This is not only a great opportunity to practice, but it's a great opportunity to also just hone your skills and have a better understanding as to that entire process, as to why, who, what, where, when, why when it comes to shooting long distance. If you're going to make a trip out west, or simply if you're, in a position where you could shoot 300-400 yards, from a moral and ethical perspective, if you're going to harvest wild game, you should know what you're doing, know what your firearm is doing, where it's actually shooting, so you can, successfully harvest some game. And I think that's critical. That's something really lost when we talk about, distance shooting. And also, if you're just somebody that just wants to shoot for fun, moving forward at longer distances, again, great class for you to attend. But the target of this class is simply to promote and educate big game hunting. So again, if you haven't shot far, this is your chance. Learn how to shoot off of a bipod, learn to shoot off of a bench, learn to shoot off freehand at distances, judging the winds, etc., understanding yardages. It's a great class for you. So if you want to come check it out, it'll be the 19th and the 20th at Wild Acres Farm. That's 1997 Morey Road, Clarksville, PA, 15322. We have additional information on our Facebook page, Mariana Outdoorsman Association. And also, as always, you can go to marianaoutdoors.com. On our website, we always have different information. You can reach out to us, and our phone number is listed on our website and Facebook, 724-579-0924. We're going to be starting the Daniel's Run project as of right now, slated for September the 1st. That's the goal. And on September the 2nd, upland bird hunting will fire back up. I'm really excited about that. Spent a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of resources developing our upland bird fields. There's so much that goes into it. People, when they get to come out and, you get to see just Mother Nature at its finest, just so much from starting back, putting manure on the stockpiling manure, putting manure on the fields back in before planting season, the plowing process, the disking process, the planting process. It's a lot. Not to mention, as you're disking and planting, jumping off and picking up it feels like 10,000 rocks through the fields, just trying to get them, kind of tidied up. But it's been a journey this year. I'm really excited. Got a lot of new signage out around the property, signage in the fields to properly, identify field locations, etc. It's just all good stuff. I mean, it's really, I love this time of year. The seasons are starting to change. It'll be fall before you know it. And with that comes not only hunting season, but then right around the corner, we'll be back into the whole fishing perspective as well. And I'm really excited with the fact that, people want to come out starting September 2nd. If you're an MOA member, you can shoot your allotted amount of dove per state and federal law. You do have to have a hunting license in the capacity of dove hunting. You do have to have your migratory bird stamp. But, your state and federal laws do apply in that capacity. And then you do not need a hunting license if you want to come out and do the upland bird hunting. So that would be your pheasant, quail, chukars. If anybody has any questions about that, please reach out to me. You can reach me on the Mariana Outdoorsman Association Facebook page, reach out to our website, or again, you can call our phone number 724-579-0924. If you're not really interested in about a membership and you just want to have a fun hunt, if you want to just have a half day upland bird hunt, we do that too. Again, same process. Reach out to us. We can get something on the books and we can have you a guided hunt that you'll be able to certainly enjoy. Happy to have you. As I said, the seasons are starting to change, and I'm really excited because as we start cooling down a little bit, getting below, getting these nights starting to cool off, people start running their dogs, right at daylight, and then also, before the sun's going down. But really excited about that. And then we're going to be back into trout fishing first Friday of October. We'll start stocking fish again. It was kind of funny because I actually got a couple calls yesterday. The fishermen were down at Daniels Run, and a lot of trout still in the water. People still actually fishing as we speak because the water's actually still cold. And it was nice to get the positive feedback, I must say. The positive feedback from people seeing like our efforts, that really means a lot. And it really kind of invigorates you to want to keep not only improving, but it keeps your brain fresh to the thought of, okay, what's the next thing that I can do to make it better? Or how can I expand, these ideas or what we're doing? But I want to circle back to the permitting. So I've been lucky enough to get to do these permits it's called a general permit number 1. So in the state of Pennsylvania, there's a wide variety of permitting processes and procedures. But when you talk about the general, we'll just call it the general public, or for that matter, the basic of basic permits, they're classified under the Department of Environmental Protection of Pennsylvania as Chapter 105 general permits. And there are, I believe, the last I knew, there were 15 of them approximately. And when you talk about general permits, the supposed to be the easiest permit of all is fish habitat. And I can tell you, it kind of is a mind-boggling process. To understand the layers of bureaucracy that are involved. So I wanted to explain to everybody from A to Z. If you were going to do fish, and I'm not trying to deter you from a project, if you're a sportsman's club or, if you're a conservation group or whatnot, by all means, I want to see you all, be successful, do good things, streams and waterways, for not only fish and aquatic, resources, but also there's a lot of mammals that benefit from it as well. But when you start off doing a general permit number 1 in Pennsylvania, first of all, it's your initial thought, what do you want to do? What's your goal? Do you want to put some rocks in the water to, create some eddies for the fish to hide behind and for habitat reasons? Do you want to put maybe some rock deflectors on an embankment that has some erosion? Do you want to maybe put a rock cross vein, which, basically looks like a miniature waterfall? What's your idea? What do you want to do? That's number one. And then go in and identifying on the stream where you want to do it at. And then at that point, getting some measurements. What's the width of the stream? What's the depth? Just getting some general information, taking some pictures. And then once you do all that, you have to go on to the DEP's website, and there's a bunch of forms you have to fill out. Location of the project, landowner name or landowner, whoever that may be. Longitude, latitude. There's just a lot of stuff. Anyways, you got to fill those forms out, and then what you have to do, they call it a PNDI. It's a PNDI form. It's through the Pennsylvania, I believe it's History and Heritage. Don't quote me on that. It's something like that. But you have to do what's called a PNDI application. I actually think the PNDI application is the foundation of the future to fix permitting in Pennsylvania. I really believe this through my permitting trials and tribulations and having to deal with all the hoops that are there. It's actually a pretty interesting computer program. It's map driven. So basically, you punch in your address, or you can just zoom into wherever the property is. And then what it allows you to do is you just click on the map where you want to do the project. It automatically populates longitude, latitudes, different things like that, address, county, etc., township. And this is important. Basically, outside of adding attachments on that particular application, the whole concept of that as of today is to identify if there's like endangered species, or if there's something like extremely important with where you're proposing to do a project. That being said, if that process was just simply amended and tweaked a little bit to where you had an a la carte menu to say, oh, I'm doing a general permit number 1 fish habitat, or I'm doing this many structures, because you already there's like dialog boxes whenever you go to do this, and it actually asks for like a description of what you're doing. It doesn't really provide the ability to upload all of your attachments for what you're going to be ultimately doing, but that program in essence is the foundation of how you fix at least general permits in Pennsylvania, to where you could simply go through that system and do it all one-stop shop. Because once you're done, you have to hit submit. You pay a $40 fee, I believe it is. And what will happen is it'll send you back basically an approval letter / receipt. And you have to print it off, put your signature on it. And then once you do that, now here's the next step. So that's basically your phase 1. Now you take all of your other documents from the DEP that I was talking about before. You have to then print all those documents off, fill it out, was an engineer involved, etc., yada, yada, yada. You fill out all those documents. What's the plan? Where's this at? So these are all separate things, like in addition to this PNDI application. Ultimately, you pull it all together, and then it all has to be then. It used to be COVID. They've relaxed a little bit where they'll allow you to email it, but you had to mail it to the Pennsylvania Fish Commission. They would review it, and at that time, then they would send you an approval letter. Then what you have to do is you have to print 2 copies of everything, including the Fish Commission's letter, and then you send that to your county conservation district, along with an erosion and sediment control plan, which is an addition, because the PNDI application and your Fish Commission do not require an erosion and sediment control plan. For those that don't know what that is, that's basically if you disturb more than 1 acre of ground in the state of Pennsylvania, you have to have what they call an erosion and sediment control plan, or an E&S plan. Basically, it could be a 1-page sheet of paper saying that, as I'm disturbing, I'm going to put out hay and seed as I'm going, or I'm going to install a silt fence or whatever it may be. But basically, you're just saying what you're going to do. Now, once the county then reviews, they then kick it up the food chain to the DEP. When that's all said and done, they send you back a copy of it's basically a cover letter saying that your application is approved, blah, blah, blah. When they send it back, they don't actually send you like the full-blown approved application, which in my opinion you need. But does everybody see that we went from a PINDY application to the Fish Commission, sending it back to you, sending 2 copies to the county, and then up to the DEP? Basically, you've involved 4 different departments just within the state. Now, this is for what's called a general permit number 1. It's supposed to be the easiest, simplest permit of all, when it wasn't really necessary. Whenever I hit submit on my PINDY application, all those agencies should just be notified anyways. All this stuff could be compacted and made easier through the PNDI system. And these are like simple solutions to make all of your lives easier, to save money with government, to cut down on the bureaucracy. It's just simple. You're not taking away discretion and authority for the government to, how do I want to say this, to enforce laws or to have, make sure that people are abiding by their permits. But it cuts down on these, 3 months to get the easiest permit of all. It's ridiculous. We should be able to hit submit through the PINDY application and everybody be notified, pay your fees, get an approval with a copy of everything that's approved, and everybody's lives should be made that much easier. Now, this is an example of a GP1, general permit number 1, for fish habitat improvement structures. Now, let me explain to you the nightmare when you throw in the federal government. So, since approximately January, February, I've been working on an application for hawk depredation. So this has been hawks at one point in time are federally were classified as an endangered species. And reason being, back in the day, everybody had predominantly across the country, go back 150 years, people had chickens to survive. Period, end of story. Farm pets, animals, etc. And people took, I would say, maintaining and ensuring the safety of their property into their own hands. And a lot of the hawks got shot, which then they became an endangered species. The problem is we're talking about the ecosystem of Pennsylvania and how it impacts the market. So for me, I have a business and I have tens of thousands of dollars into upland bird pens, and also, then we put these birds out in the field. The goal is to have it to where these birds can be out in the fields and it feel as close, if not be actually wild birds as we can. You want it to feel like you're going to Kansas, South Dakota, North Dakota, etc. Like that's the goal and ambition. Problem being, you have 10 hawks hovering over the farm. Basically, it's a slaughter fest, just killing everything that they can get their talons onto. It becomes a problem. And what I realized was that there was no checks and balances. We basically went from one extreme of, we were shooting all the hawks 150 years ago to then we put them on endangered, and now we've done nothing for a very long time for checks and balances reasons, to now the scales are tipped back in a negative way. We're back to where we started basically prior to shooting them. And I started researching about doing a federal depredation permit because hawks are actually classified as a migratory bird at the federal level. And little did I know the nightmare that I was going to walk into. And so I started, like I said, back in right after the first of the year, started looking about, okay, how do I do this? So I ended up on the U.S. Fish and Wildlife's website, and sure enough, I found a depredation application. I go and filled it out online. And there's actually foundationally, from a foundation perspective, a great stepping stone for a permitting like website. I think it has a lot of the bones to be a good site, really do. Problem for bird depredation in the northeastern part of the United States. I believe the office is located in Massachusetts. The phone number on the website, when you call, it basically says, "Oh, just go to our website to. We're busy. Like, go to our website to try to get in touch with us." Well, that really doesn't work. So I basically spun my wheels for nearly 60 days. I did the online application, submitted it. It says, "Oh, we have to then reach out to your USDA person in Pennsylvania." Well, I didn't know who that was. So I just started researching USDA, Pennsylvania. After a few phone calls, I finally got in touch with the right person. Well, here, the USDA, for me to even file this application officially and for it to be a completed application, had to come out and do an inspection to prove that we were dealing with these issues. USDA comes out, does the inspection, sees the hawks hovering and flying around the property. It's like, wow, yes, there is a problem here. So now we're into, I want to say it was March, April timeframe. Okay, get that completed. USDA has to then give me a form. They then send that form to the Pennsylvania Game Commission. So little did I know that when I go to do this permit, I'm thinking, oh, well, U.S. Fish and Wildlife at the federal level is going to be the ones that just approve it. No, we got U.S. Fish and Wildlife, we have USDA, and now we have the Pennsylvania Game Commission gets drug into this. Okay, all right. So I'm at a point where USDA is like, yeah, you definitely have a problem. We're going to approve that you can shoot or we could capture and move these hawks. And I'm like, well, what, you all know what you're doing. Like, what would it cost to bring somebody out here to like trap them during, whenever we know that they're very accessible and they're like, oh, well, we could get somebody to come out here. And I'm like, oh, that's awesome. Fantastic. And I'm like, well, what do we have to do that? They're like, well, you have to sign up and it's going to cost you a fee. And I'm like, well, what's the fee? They're like, well, for somebody to come out and do this and check traps and do all these different things, it's going to be like $120,000. And my eyes could have popped out of my head. And I was just like, $120,000 to come out here and trap hawks? Yeah, that's basically what you're looking at. To pay the government. And I was totally like mind blown. I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute. So we have a situation where it's complicated right out of the gate. They've created a complicated system. It's almost created for you to fail. I hate to say it. But I was like, okay, all right, well, yeah, I'm definitely not going to give you $120,000. That's insane. But I thought, okay, I'll manage it in-house. Like, I just want to get the approval. So if I have to shoot them, it is what it is. We'll shoot them. So don't quote me, but I think it's 6 we're allowed to shoot through the USDA. But the USDA says, okay, yeah, we're going to give you the approval. We're going to send it to the Pennsylvania Game Commission. Okay. I don't know, 6-8 weeks go by. Finally, I get a letter from the Pennsylvania Game Commission. Yes, you're approved. This was like now into July. Yeah, you're approved. The permit's good till December 31st of this calendar year. And then there's a little thing at the bottom. It says, but you have to have U.S. Fish and Wildlife's approval before this permit's even valid. So basically, one permit, which should have been so simple, back to the start of this conversation about, online applications and being able to do, pay your fees, etc. So I start reaching out to, elected officials. I'm like, well, what's going on with this U.S. Fish and Wildlife application? Why is this taking so long? So long story short, I get this random email from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife. No name at the bottom. Doesn't even acknowledge who the person is. And says that, permit applications are taking 9 months to review. 9 months. 9 months. Like, I don't understand where we in good conscience think that that's even remotely acceptable. Like, it's a system created almost for failure. And I hate to say it in that capacity, but it's like, you have these people creating these policies and layers of red tape. And it's like, are you the one? First of all, let's look at it from this perspective. If I were to go to let's just say the Game Commission. I'll use the Game Commission in this capacity. If I go right now about this particular issue, is there anybody on the board of commissioners that has the experience and expertise when it comes to either permitting and or depredation of upland birds or even depredation of fish from a fish hatchery? I would question that anybody does. That's your first problem. Next, then you have people within these agencies creating policies, rules, procedures when they don't have the experiences that warrants creating permit applications or permit processes. And then the person on the receiving end, the person with the experience, the person that knows and understands the importance of these things, basically is stuck with a convoluted, complex, never-ending circle of nonsense. And as of today, we're almost halfway through August. I'm going to be going into September here. Still do not have the depredation permit. Still haven't gotten, answers as to why it takes so long. I mean, you want to feel frustrated whenever there's problems and you see solutions, and it's like, hey, can we set up maybe a workshop to talk about this stuff so we can make it better for everybody? You know what you get? You get emails with nobody's name attached to the bottom, signed U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, or, well, we're really busy, or, well, we'll see if we can get back to you in the future. There are so many opportunities collectively to resolve so many permitting issues in this state, and they're simple. And I think that's the one thing personally that frustrates me. It frustrates me as a business owner. It frustrates me as a member of the Pennsylvania Farm Bureau. It frustrates me as a resident and a citizen of Pennsylvania. I see these things, and you go to these events, and everybody touts the fact that agriculture is our number one business in Pennsylvania. Well, if agriculture is the number one business in Pennsylvania, as everybody says, I just feel that we need to do better with the little things when it comes to agriculture, when it comes to the outdoors, because we've lost that sight of connectivity of how these things impact one another, why they're important. Because here's the deal, even for me, the better the habitat, the more fish I can put in the stream. The more fish I can put in the stream, that's more fish I'm buying from a fish farm. Everybody's winning at the end of the day. Farming community's doing better. But here's the thing. I can buy fish then cheaper, sell it cheaper to people. But if fish farms are dealing with depredation issues, whether that's with bears, whether that's with, we'll say, osprey, whether that's with blue heron, that makes their costs go up. Because maybe they had a blue heron come in and peck at, let's just say, 50 fish that were $200 a piece to go out onto the market. They've lost that money. They can't go and sell fish that's like all beat up and pecked up. It's just not it's just not a good system. But when we talk about government, when we talk about outdoors, when we talk about these permitting issues, these solutions are so simple. They're not that big of a deal. But when you've created so many layers of government, so many layers of bureaucracy, And when you do not sit down, and that's one thing, like when I was a manager for a local coal mine, every morning every shift we had like a pre-shift meeting, which I thought was obviously critical for that shift. But then twice a week we would meetings to where it was the big stuff going on. Like, hey, what are we doing for the weekdays? And then we would get together on Thursdays and lay out the plan for the weekend. When I even think about that, when it comes to what we're talking about right now about permits and about trying to make things easier for everybody, what are we doing? Think about this. What are we doing to get these people, the players at the table, the people that are batting, for our team to address everything? What are we all doing to just get everybody together and have conversations about, hey, these are our problems? Because you can't blame your elected officials, number one, if they don't know. It's our job, as citizens to talk to them and to raise awareness. But also, when you have all these layers, when it comes to permitting issues, when you have all these layers and you have opportunities then to invite people to the table to talk about it, let's use crop damage as an example. We can't get upset at the Pennsylvania Game Commission if the Board of Commissioners are not invited to those discussions with, the different entities that be. It's very important that when somebody has a stake in what we're doing, that they're at least informed and invited to the table to have a conversation. Now, yeah, if they totally ignore the issues and the solutions that are brought up and they don't even want to hear it, then yes, then I 1,000%. Then if our elected officials have to take matters above and beyond to try to address some of these things, then yeah, should our elected officials be involved or be aware? Absolutely. But I think I compare it to a basket of beans. When we talk about a lot of these things, especially when it conveys to the outdoors, agriculture, fishing, hunting, etc., so often do people say, "Oh, well, these aren't big enough issues." Well, maybe individually they're not in the eyes of the bigger picture, but when we have allowed so many little issues to go ignored, unchecked, totally unnoticed, what happens is that little bean, you start throwing them into a basket. Eventually that basket not only becomes full, but becomes flowing over. And, now you're stuck with trying to take that back out. What are we going to do? Because it's a lot easier to take care of individual things as they come up and address them. But when you've allowed them to accumulate, now you've created a situation that's very burdensome. It's very heavy on your arms and your shoulder. And I say that, figuratively. But we've allowed certain things to manifest and to go ignored for so long. We absolutely need at least an annual sit down with the different agencies when it comes to the farming arena, when it comes to the hunting and fishing arena, to sit there and have a constructive workshop about these are the problems facing the people of Pennsylvania, and here's some of our perceived solutions, and then hashing it all out. It works in the private sector. I understand this isn't the private sector. I get it. I understand that. I acknowledge that. But someone coming from the private sector, not only from big business, but also small business, brainstorming and talking about problems is the only way you're going to fix them. Because when you have problems and you continue to ignore them, they only manifest, and it's like cancer. You catch cancer at its, right at its onset, you can address it. The longer you let it go, it just grows and grows and grows until it becomes, something that can kill you. And I think that, when you look at the outdoor industry, when you look at hunting, when you look at fishing, when you look at the fact that we have this bird depredation, when you look at the fact that we have crop damages across the state that have grown out of control, it raises a lot of questions as to, well, what are we doing about it? Are our policies working? Are we talking about it? Are we talking in silos? Are we actually getting to the right people to have the right conversations? And, I'm really thankful and proud of the work that the Pennsylvania Farm Bureau has been doing about a lot of this stuff. They've made major strides since I've witnessed and seen what they've been doing. So if you're not a Pennsylvania Farm Bureau, highly recommend that you join. I'm a member of the Fayette County Farm Bureau. They're very, very active within the farming community, and I would even say agriculturally with hunting, fishing, etc. Really excited at the direction that we're headed. But as we progress through these permits, I will definitely continue to talk to everybody and to update you, the listeners, on, are we making any headway? Are we, seeing some of these things start to become easier for people? Because that's one of my passions. My passion is, I've been blessed to learn so much when it comes to the outdoors, and I enjoy sharing my experiences, sharing my better fisheries, better hunting, whether that's upland birds, deer, turkey, etc. The opportunity to shoot far. My goal is to be able to expand and to provide these things to people, but also provide the education. So if you want to do this in another county, you want to do these things at your local hunting and fishing club, you want to improve the habitat at your farm, these are things that everybody should be able to do, but it shouldn't be so hard. And that is one of the big kickers for me, is just we got to cut some red tape. I know that's a nostalgia comment, but we just have to make it easier for people. But, for right now, we have a Farm to Table event this Saturday. I really hope you'll come. It's $20 for general admission. Love to see you at Wild Acres Farm, 1997 Morey Road, Clarksville, PA, 15322. Doors open at 4 o'clock. If you want to actually even come beforehand and pick flowers, we have flower picking available. We have fresh garden vegetable picking available. I believe the sweet corn will be ready. That's another thing that's available. A lot of great things going on. Would love to see you this Saturday, Wild Acres Farm, 4 o'clock until I believe it's 10. And then, like I said before, next weekend, the weekend of the 19th and the 20th, is the long range hunter class. If you're interested in learning how to shoot far, you want to have those experiences and that knowledge so you can harvest a big game animal at far distances, come check us out. Would love to have you. Love to share that knowledge and experience as well. We're going to fire up and open back up the upland bird fields Saturday, the 2nd of September. If you want to come out and dove hunt, state and federal laws apply. And then also the upland bird hunting is available. State laws apply as well. Outside of, we go over all the minutia and the details of, what you can and cannot do when it comes to that. But happy to have you. Please come check us out. And before long, Friday, the 6th of October, we're going to be stalking trout again. So just really excited for the future. If you're interested in becoming a 2024 MOA member, membership will be available online at MarianaOutdoors.com. You can get the 2024 membership for the rest of the fall for free, and you get all up next year. I reiterate, you can join the MOA for 2024, get the rest of 2023 for free, and have all 2024 for the same price. So just want to thank everybody. Check us out at MarianaOutdoors.com, Mariana Outdoorsman Association at Facebook. Even check us out on YouTube. We're basically kind of everywhere, but really looking forward to seeing everybody this fall. Stay tuned for next week. Got another great show ahead of you. But thank you so much. I'm Jason White signing off. Have a great week.
And that's been the Great Outdoors Show here on WMBS. It's 74 and partly sunny outside our studios on this Wednesday morning. CBS News at the top of the hour. You're listening to WMBS Uniontown. It's 11 o'clock.
This is CBS News on the Hour, presented by Indeed.com.
I'm Steve Kathan. Freedom for an American.